talk a little bit about faith, belief, truth. 'Cause hopefully that's what we are seeking. Buddha seeking. Ultimately, yeah, we are seeking the truth. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters and the predecessors for giving this opportunity to talk about this. Okay, so because people when we talk about religion, of course, we talk about belief or faith, and people coming in here in the Tao, they all mention, they think it's religion too, and then so they talk about belief and faith. But ultimately, belief. Okay, so what is belief, right? This is the definition, I guess. Our acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. Okay. Or it's also trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. Okay, and you can say that maybe belief is also like it's expressing an opinion. Okay, but maybe it's a little more stronger opinion. Okay, so so this is belief is pretty broad, pretty general. It applies to pretty much anything. All right. But you can believe in either someone or something, some concept or principles, etc. Right? Okay. But the idea is that you believe that you think that something is true. Okay. Even though you may not have any proof necessarily. So this obviously applies especially when we're dealing with things that are abstract, spiritual, things like that. Right. So now faith, which actually it's pretty similar, but it's more. Yes, it says here, it's complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Okay. So or the other one applied to like spiritual or religion, strong belief in God or in the doctrines of religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. Okay. So obviously. That's why people, talk about faith or beliefs in science as being two different things, right? Science is looking for hard evidence, proof of things, whereas faith and beliefs are not, because I guess maybe part of the just the subject matter, if you will, is science. How do you prove God, right? How do you prove the soul or spirit? Through science. At least currently there is no way to do that, right? So, but faith, you can say it's a much stronger belief. Okay, so in this definition it says it's complete trust or confidence. Okay, that something in someone or that something is true. In fact, factual or true. Okay, so all right, and then so what is truth? Let's talk about truth. Truth is the quality or state of being true. Okay, that which is true or in accordance with fact or reality, a fact or belief that is accepted as true. Okay, so obviously, we want to seek, as seekers of the truth, we want to, we kind of relate truth to like reality and facts, right? So obviously, when living in this world, we encounter things and we want to know what's real or what's factual and what's true. Of course, Buddha would say that this, everything here is false, but so that's a little bit different. But it's kind of a different way of looking at it, actually. But it's ultimately talking about the truth.
Yeah, what in Buddhism or in Buddha's time, in the Tao, when we say what's true, people say, well, okay, let's look at it. What's factual and what's true, right? So what Buddha is saying, when he says what thing is not true, does not mean that's not factual. Get it? It's not factual. Doesn't mean it's not factual. It's fact. I mean, yeah, people say, I have a body. That's a fact. That is true. Or you can say that's reality. But from a Buddhist perspective, and so therefore most people, right? Most people would say, hey, if it's fact, therefore it's true, right? Most people, say if A, then B, right? If factual or real, than true, right? I mean, most people will agree that scientists, that's the scientific method. That's really the scientific approach, the rational approach. Maybe that's a better term. But Buddha say, not necessarily. Buddha would say, question mark, not necessarily. So, and why Buddha say that is because he's looking at it from a different perspective. He's looking at it from the, you can say, principle perspective, from the zenli, from the pure principle, the absolute truth, which is that even though it's factual, yes, yeah, you do exist, I exist, you exist, the universe exists, right? But to him, it's still not true because, or it's not the truth, it's because it's subject to change. Yeah, you get it? So it's called the 3 Dharma seals. Anybody know what the 3 Dharma seals are? Right? I talked about it in the Eightfold Path. So you gotta learn this. See, these are all basics. These are basics. You have to know this because that's once you know this, everything is built upon that. If you don't have that, you're in the air, you're in the sky, you're gonna fall down. Okay? So the 3 Dharma seals is what? Anicca, Anatta, and Dukkha. Right? Anybody know what they are? Anicca means impermanent. That's why. Yeah, you're real, but you're not permanent. You're anicca, right? Because 100 years ago you didn't exist. 100 years later you're not going to exist. The universe, yeah, it's going to be around for a long time, but billions, 16, 18 billion years ago it didn't exist. The sun didn't exist. The Milky Way didn't exist. And then maybe 16, 18 billion years later it's not going to exist. So that's anicca. It's just a different time span. Right? So, and also, it's anatta. Anatta means what? No self, no essence, no self nature. There's no term. These are all 形象, forms. Even our body is built up of what? Those elements, whatever elements. Water, fire. They say water, fire, metal, earth, whatever. Okay, but right? It is. It's going to be what? Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, someday, one day.
Annihilated.
Right. So there's no essence. So he's saying essence is our Buddha nature, but even so is kind of misleading. But anyway, but that's okay. But so that's why it's called anicca, no self. The sun has no self. It was just a bunch of hydrogen atoms that gathered together, right? Eventually, it's going to what? Burn up its hydrogen and turn to a red giant, or maybe even to a probably not a black hole, probably a neutron star, whatever, okay? Or whatever. So that's why it has no self. So that's why, even though it's real, you can say it's real for now, it exists, we exist, but it has not truth. It's not true from a Buddha's point of view. Because it has anatta, anicca. It's impermanent and has no true nature. But you can say a human is true too, but that's true. But he would say only the Buddha nature is true because it's not anicca and it's not anatta, right? Understand? Mm-hmm. So that's why. Okay? So you guys gotta know what the 3 Dharma seals are. So Buddha said everything that's false has the 3 Dharma seals. Only Buddha nature doesn't have that. Make sense? Mm-hmm. People say, oh, suffering. Well, what? It's not really suffering. Dukkha, the 3rd seal. Dukkha, Chinese translate suffering. It's not very appropriate. I mean, English too. We translate as suffering because they translate from the Chinese. Even that, dukkha just means it's not perfect, right? Because if it's not permanent and if it's no self, of course it's not perfect. Get it? So dukkha. So when we say suffering is a result because it's not permanent. I mean, not permanent, and also not perfect. So even the sun has dukkha. From Buddha's perspective, we would say, how can the sun suffer? It's inanimate. How can a rock suffer? Because it's not permanent. So suffering is not a good term. It's really, if you translate from Sanskrit, it means it's not satisfactory. Meaning it's not perfect, not satisfactory. So the sun's not, because why? Sun eventually is going to burn out. The earth eventually is going to whatever, right? So that's why it's not perfect. So that's why it's called dukkha. Not because it suffers, quote unquote, suffering. It's a very human type of emotion. So you guys understand? So the 3 Dharma seals, you guys got to know that, okay? It's basic. It's basic. You have to know.
All right, so thank you. All right, yeah, so, so there's a kind of a distinction between what's true and what are facts, what we think of as reality, okay? So that's something to keep in mind as we,
Yeah, we have to.
because we're pursuing something that's, kind of the spiritual and these principles. We're going to be dealing with the truth, but not necessarily scientific facts, okay?
Right.
Right. So, okay. So, in life we have all sorts of beliefs. What do we believe in, right? Or what do we believe, or what do we believe in, right? There are many things. There are people out there who still believe that the Earth is flat. Okay, so
Flat Earth Society.
despite the scientific evidence, if you will, that the Earth, from the point of view from space, you can see it's definitely a globe, a sphere. It's not flat, but clearly people, I don't know, they want to believe.
I don't know.
I don't know. This
I
you can
can't
say it's
figure it out.
delusional.
It is delusional.
Okay, so despite the evidence, they
Well,
can
it's
just
one form
believe
of
it.
delusion.
Yeah, it's a type of delusion. Okay, that's a danger. Actually, this is going to be applied to cults. Okay, so
Yeah.
people they follow these cults. They just believe in those leaders. The
What about
cults-
Scientology?
Yeah,
That's like a cult.
Yeah,
That's a
right.
cult.
Scientology too. Yeah,
That's a
I mean,
Tom Cruise.
so that's why the Buddhism, we have to use our wisdom. We have to use our wisdom, right, to just differentiate, distinguish what's really true, what's false, what's right and wrong.
Right.
Okay, so we can't just blindly follow, blindly believe, right? That's blind faith, blind beliefs. They become false beliefs. Okay, so that's a danger. So we have to avoid that, right? Okay, so, and then, there's also believing in magic, witchcraft, that type of thing. And still today, you have these primitive cultures that still believe in those things. Now, it's not to say that magic or these types of things, witchcraft, doesn't exist. There are
No, it
people
does
who have
exist.
these abilities and powers, whatever, they can do things that's beyond what science can explain right now. So yeah, maybe in ancient times it's more prevalent, okay? But certainly a lot of things, over these thousands of years, of human history that people, what starts off as being, because there's no other way to explain it back then, science is not developed. But they can accept. They say, they believe that this is the case, that people have these abilities and stuff like that. And then later on, they discover, from science point of view, they say, it can be explained this way, in a scientific way that is not. But there's still certain things that science still cannot explain yet. Okay, so that kind of falls in this category of people believing in magic and that type of stuff. All right, but actually, science, or actually this reality that we live in, this quantum world, okay, that we live in, it's very interesting because it allows for any possibility, basically.
Yeah.
So anything can be done. Anything can
Possible.
happen. Anything is possible. Okay?
It's just in
whether
your
it's
mind.
question is probability-wise, whether it is probable, but anything is really possible. Okay. So, but yeah, so you have this type of belief. Okay. Then we talk about more scientific. Climate change, is that real? Again, there's still people who deny that. Okay, but again, most of the evidence is there from a scientific point of view. Most evidence points that there's definitely climate change, and that humans are the main cause of this climate change. Okay, so this isn't really subject to much debate. But again, people hold to their
people
views.
still
They're
think
still
that
holding their
it's
views
a natural
that
cycle.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
say it's a natural cycle. Well,
you know,
most Republicans believe that.
So, it's this denial thing. So again, when we have other closely held views that contradict, that are in maybe contradiction to some of these other face of these evidence, we still may not change our views and stick to our old views, which are, turn out could be wrong. Okay, so that's something that we need to understand. And then you can say, oh, intelligent life, does it exist anywhere else in the universe, right? So far we haven't discovered any, but it just seems from a probability standpoint, right, from science, we look at, well, they do a calculation that how many planets out there can support life. It's billions, because how big is this universe? How many billions of galaxies? And each galaxy has, billions of stars. So from a probability point of view, yeah, there should be life elsewhere in the universe. It's just that our ability to detect that yet is not there. Okay. Due to the limitations of space and time, all right, distance. But okay, so there's something you can believe in this. You can believe that that's the case, and right now that would be just a belief, since there's no proof yet. Right. Then when we talk about then we have soul or God exists. Okay, so now we're kind of going into the realm of so science isn't, it's kind of like it cannot
prove it.
Can't prove this. Okay, so at least not yet. I don't know, maybe it'll never will, because science is a good tool. Okay, but it has limitations, right? So that's why you have religion and you have faith, right? It's dealing in this aspect, in this realm where it's not in the realm of science. So whether the soul exists or God exists, I don't know. I guess
you can't prove absolutely.
Yeah, the absolute. Well, we can't prove it in a scientific way.
Right.
Let's put it that way. All right. You can prove to yourself that it exists.
Right.
Okay, but then that's your individual. Okay, so it's not like in the scientific way of proving things is everyone has to be able to agree on it.
Right. Or you can do an experiment or whatever. Right. But then there's the ontological proof. That's what philosophers use. Ontology means knowledge, but it can mean higher knowledge, higher wisdom. So that's what I'm saying. When you prove it to yourself, you have to use ontological approach, which is 你自己要体会人家种的体会，你自己 have to experience it. I guess that's the only way to say. That's the only way to do it.
So that's why so people, right? They supposedly, some people, they have, they say they see a vision, right? They hear the voice of God or Jesus or someone talking to them, right? We can't say that it's not true, that didn't happen. I mean, it just happened to them, and they experienced something that no one else experienced, maybe. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't happen or it didn't exist. It's not factual.
Yeah, so that's why it's hard. That's not scientific. That's considered not non-scientific.
Right. So that's why you have kind of a
it's a gray area.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, actually,
between science and
religious faith. Our Buddha nature, or we say God, right? It's 真的是, you could say, in Chinese they say 不可思议, right? It says it's indescribable.
Incomprehensible.
And here's why. Because it's like, you could use that, the flatlands, the three-dimensional. If you live in a two-dimensional realm, as far as you know, there's no three dimensions. You see what I'm trying to say? So you can never, absolutely never, and that's the limitation, that you could use any two-dimensional tool or approach to understand the third dimension. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's beyond, right? It's beyond the me. So likewise, in our physical phenomena or three-dimensional world or four-dimensional, whatever, we have language, we have scientific tools, methods, etc. But it's still in this dimensional realm. We still cannot prove absolutely or beyond doubt something that's beyond it. You see what I'm trying to say? That's the natural limitation. That's the natural limitation. You can say that's the law of nature. That's the So therefore, you can never absolutely prove God or our Buddha nature because they're beyond it. You see what I'm saying? They're beyond it. So next time, if people ask you, describe God, or what is God, or what is your Buddha nature? You say, there's a Buddha nature. say four things. 四季, right? 四季, 人旁的季, right? Four phrases, four propositions. Very important, very important. This is fundamental again. It's very fundamental stuff. It's called the fourfold negations, or the four propositions, four alternatives, four options. Oh, no, fourfold negation. Okay, so it's not existence. It's not existence. 有, right? 有. And 非不无 non-existence, or doesn't exist. Okay, it's not neither existence, neither non-existence. So what the heck is that? Then it's neither both existence and non-existence. What the heck is that? And it's neither non-existence, neither not existence and not non-existence. It's a scary. So what the heck does that mean? So it's none of the above. It's none of the above. You get it? So it's not A, not B, not A and B, and not B, and not A, not B.
Is this philosophy
Yeah.
of
It is
religious
philosophy.
belief?
It is philosophy. Well, it's in Buddha. Buddha said that. Buddha said
Okay.
that. Buddha said this. It's part of the noble silence, but you guys don't know that. The 14 unanswered questions. You know, you guys know what the 14. That's extra knowledge, but it's good to know. I mean, I don't want to get into it. Kai has finished. But 14, you guys should know this too. It's called the 14, the 14 unanswered questions. When people ask Buddha that question, not just his disciples, there were other gurus. You know, there are some
Masters.
other schools. You know, like the atheists, the agnostics, the Jainism, the whole bunch. There are like eight major schools during Buddha's time too. They all, because Buddha already has a reputation, so they came and want to debate with Buddha. So they ask him these questions. They're like, well, Buddha, you said that there's no spirit, no soul, anatta, right? Anatman. But then, how can that be? Because you say there's something eternal. So Buddha doesn't answer. Buddha is just quiet. You know that? But let your Liu say, yeah, you can tell them these four things. And you really confuse the heck out of people. You really say, what is that? I mean, what is it? It's unimaginable. The whole point is what I'm trying to say is that God, trying to describe God, he's a big old man, right here. Who says? I could say he's a young person. Who knows? You can't tell, right? It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. Same thing with our Buddha nature. It's unimaginable. We can try to describe it, but then it's what? You're putting a limitation. It's imperfect. It's imperfect. Right? That's like 道可道. It's related to 道可道. So these four propositions related, or fourfold negation, it's the same thing as 道可道, 名可名. Same idea, same meaning, same concept, same principle. Get it? So if you understand what 道可道 means, you should understand what the fourfold negations also mean. Same thing. Okay? They're the same. 不可思议. It's simple, you could say 不可思议. Just, it's unimaginable, indescribable. It's impossible. Okay? So you guys should know that. Alright? So next time somebody asks you that, tell them those four things. Don't scratch your head and say, what the heck? What are you talking about?
Cannot even
This is
say
beyond.
them properly.
It's beyond. Or you can say, you can start blinking your eyes. Oh, you need to go see an eye doctor. That's even more fun. But that Zen masters do that. You know that, right? Zen masters do that. Yeah, they do
Just
that.
blink their eye.
But there's a 14, but we don't have to talk that. But it deals with space-time. It deals with 4 questions on space, 4 questions on time, temporal, 2 questions on the soul, and that's 10, right? 4 questions on the Buddha nature, or something like that. So there's 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 2, something like that. Yeah, you guys gotta know that. You guys should know these. These are basic stuff, okay?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, and then get into like creationism, right? Did God create the universe, the man, right? Actually, this is the problem is the way that it's kind of phrased or described or explained in religion. Kind of makes it sound like it's contrary to what science explains it. But if you say creation, the Big Bang, that's a creation. So why? Now, of course, they say, oh, okay, 6 days, all that. All right, so the time frame may be, up for debate. But anyways, I think it's really there's not necessarily a contradiction that it's the way that it's explained is it's very oversimplified in religion. All right. But anyways, so what happened here? I can't see that. But sorry, that's not what I want. Okay.
What was that?
No, that was supposed to appear with the intelligent life in the rest. But okay, so we're subject to causality and reincarnation, right? I think maybe a lot of people believe in causality, reincarnation, but people still don't believe that. There are, unfortunately, there are cases though of children, right, who remember a past life.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
But from a scientific, but it's very limited, very few, okay? So out of billions of people, maybe there are a handful, okay? And that, from a scientific point of view, that's statistically insignificant, okay? And that you can't use those few examples to say, oh, then reincarnation exists. That is true, okay? So from a scientific point of view, they can't prove it that way. But again, it's certainly very interesting. It's what they know, the kids know about their past lives is, they can describe everything. So that's, you can say, probably more than just a coincidence. And then believing in, okay, so we can believe, right? We believe something about something, but we can also believe in someone, believe in some maybe set of, beliefs or whatever. So it's just like believing in Jesus, Buddha.
Value system.
Yeah, right, value system. So that's, basically replacing our trust. Obviously we didn't meet these people, we don't know these people from the past, but that's one way to, and today we trust, we believe or trust the people who tell us, or the scientists, right, that they've done everything properly according to the scientific method to measure things and et cetera, to observe, to tell us, oh yeah, so just like, Einstein's theory of relativity, right, is recently, this last week,
Gravitation.
the scientists, because the theory predicts that there be gravitational waves, and they haven't been able to detect these until last week. They were able to detect it, right? So that, that's one closer to proving that, that theory is correct. Okay, so, but until then, it's a theory, scientific theory is just something, you believe that it's true, based on some limited set of observations. So that's kind of the science way. So this idea of believing in, again, we believe in these things, so even in science, although it's, we say science is and belief or faith is kind of two separate things, but even in science you can say there is belief or faith, right? You have faith in science or faith in the scientific method, belief in that, or believe in these theories. So, belief is not just, belief is pretty general, okay? All right. So, okay. So, where is the truth, right? So, from the scientific point of view, the truth is out there, right? You go seek
X-Files.
yeah.
Yes.
There are aliens and all that, right? But
The truth is out there,
the truth is
guys.
out there. I want to believe, right? They want to believe. They want to believe that they
Yeah,
exist,
they're aliens, man.
right?
UFO.
But but that's science, because the tool of science is really trying to, it can
External.
only
It's
observe
external.
these external things,
Phenomena,
measure these
yeah.
external phenomena, okay? So everything is external. And so science can only seek the truth that is out there,
Out
that's
there.
measurable, okay? If it's not out there, then science is not going to help you, all right? But so, let's talk about, all right, so what is the basis of our beliefs or whatever, okay? So here's, we talk about science, right? Science based on theory, right? Before, the theory is based on
Well, assumption or
observations.
hypothesis.
Yeah,
There's
you have assumptions,
then
right?
hypothesis.
Because
and
based
then
on their observations, they see, okay,
what else?
these things fall down.
Lemon,
So then they come up with the theory of there's gravity. Okay, there's something called gravity, this force. And until it gets proven, it's not fact yet. Okay,
So it's a theory.
Yeah, it's just a theory. So it's something you believe in. Really, it's not much different. Okay, so but basically in science it deals with phenomena, right? And of course what we call knowledge. And you know, the phenomenon again means all these things that are measurable, observable, right? All these things external. You know, that's why you can say, you know, like psychology is not really considered it's definitely not a hard science, because you're dealing with the mind, you're dealing with the thing that are inside, which it's hard to, it becomes very kind of subjective, okay? So whereas science tries to be it's very objective, right? But, okay, so science is very good then in this area, in this realm, in measuring and observing things and doing it reliably and doing it predictably and repeatedly, okay? So that's how we can understand the universe that we live in. Of course, our senses, you know, observing the external, so, you know, it can fool us. You know, so if we look at this, you know, this is an optical illusion. Okay, so what you see black dots, right? Kind of,
Yeah.
you know, they're all over the place.
I thought my eyes was playing shiny.
Yeah, well, but actually, yeah, your eyes are playing tricks on you.
You are.
So-
It
And
is.
it blinks, yeah.
There are no black dots at all. Okay, it's all white. Right?
It's actually white.
They're
right?
all white.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an optical illusion. Again, our eyes are fooling us, going through our minds. So our eyes, you know, one of the senses, of course, can be fooled. So what I'm saying is that through science, even
You can
though
explain. You can try to
you
explain.
can try to explain some of these things, but all right. And then here's another one. Okay, so you know, this is, you see that little bar in the middle there. And we all see that it's kind of like a graduated, right?
Right.
From
Yep.
light to dark.
It's really the
But
same
it's
color.
actually, it's all one solid color.
One color.
One solid shade.
Ah.
Okay, so, but again, our mind is playing tricks on us when we see the background and
The
contrast.
contrast.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the thing.
It's
That's-
optical illusion. Yeah, it's
you
optical
know, this
illusion.
our mind. So even our mind can be fooled. So
Yeah.
our you know, we can have delusions. Okay.
Or our senses can be fooled.
Well, yeah,
Right.
that sense is our mind is a sense too. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's
right?
true.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
so, and just one more example. You know, this kind of well, actually, this one.
What is this?
It's like a tunnel.
Yeah, actually, it doesn't show very well here for some reason.
What? You're supposed to
It's
something in the
supposed to
middle?
look like it's
They're
coming.
coming.
Oh, coming towards you.
Yeah.
Right. It's an optical illusion.
Yeah, but
Either
again,
way.
it's another one of these optical illusions. Okay, so you know, again.
So that's why, can you trust our senses?
Right, we can be
Yeah.
fooled. Right, ultimately, we can't necessarily rely on our senses. But you know, this is obviously, these are visual, but you know, all our senses can be fooled. Right.
Some music.
Okay, so but then on the other, so we have it's like science on one axis, and then the other axis we have belief, faith, religion. Okay, they deal in what we call noumenon, which is inherent. You can say inherent.
Truth or reality
Truth or suchness. Or,
Yeah.
Inherent-
Or principle,
it's
inherent nature.
So it's not. It doesn't come
Yeah.
from the external. So
Right.
we cannot use like
It's
external observations.
essence.
To,
You can
to
say essence.
that
You
that's
can say
something true.
essence.
Yeah. And then of course we talk about doctrine. Doctrine actually applies to science as well, but
Right.
knowledge applies to both as well. But this is kind of the how we, you know. So most people they would put like science on one end of the spectrum and religion and faith on the other end of that same axis. But it's actually not true. It's kind of orthogonal, okay, to each other. They're not opposites.
Yeah, that's true. That's
All right,
true.
because
Because they share some common.
yeah, they're
common-
all
yeah.
looking for the truth.
Right.
Okay, you're seeking the
They
truth.
share common-
Right? They're just different ways of trying to understand the truth.
Right.
And so at that diagonal, right, at the bottom left corner is the untruth, which is false or maybe zero knowledge, nothing. You know nothing. Or worse, like delusions. Okay,
Right.
you believe something to be true, but it's false. Okay, so that's at the one end there, and then but we're all trying to move up to the upper right corner where it's the seeking the ultimate truth. Now, facts, okay, science facts are on the right side. You can say they're also trying to get to the truth too, but like, as Kai said earlier, those facts aren't necessarily truth, the ultimate truth. Okay, so beliefs and religion and faith are trying to get to truth in a different way, especially as they're dealing with, things of the spiritual nature and things like that. All right.
The way you have it on the y and x axis,
Yeah.
really, people. Yeah, you're right. It is a different approach. It's a way to do it. But people could have false belief too,
Yeah, right.
and false hopes, like say false faith. So that's why it doesn't go on the diagonal line. You see what I'm saying? So that you could go up there too, and that's false too. So in that respect, it's just as far away as if you're just relying on pure facts and theory. You see what I'm saying? Right? That's what your whole point is.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, obviously in religion or any of these beliefs, faiths, it can be false too.
Right, you can have
Just
false.
like those cults or whatever. I mean, you're following something, you're believing something that's it's
Wrong.
It's not
That's
true.
wrong.
It's
Yeah.
false. Okay, so that's the thing. So we have to understand. So how do we, that ultimately to get to that truth? There's a certain amount of trust or confidence. In science, you talk more about confidence, using confidence, but it's really trust, confidence in our results, in our understanding, right? Faith, same thing. There's also a certain amount of trust. Obviously, today in religions, unfortunately, I think it's blind trust because religions take, the doctrine is dogma. Okay, so it's like these are the words of God. If you believe in God, then you have to accept this as truth. Okay, so that's a dogma. Okay, so just say you blindly accept it. Don't even think about it. Don't even have any questions. Don't even doubts. Okay.
Islam's like that,
Yeah, well,
and some Christian groups
Yeah.
like that too.
But that's dangerous too.
Yeah,
Because who's telling you all this? Okay,
Right.
the church. I mean, who's interpreting it? Their interpretation could obviously
Could be wrong.
Could be wrong.
Or
Right?
biased.
So right. So.
Manipulative.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they for their own. Yeah. So if they're no longer dealing with the truth, the actual truth anymore. Okay. All right. So basically, belief, is we think of the person or the source as being trustworthy, right? And also the object of the belief, does it make we have to think, does it make logical sense or conform to reason, right? So again, that's kind of more of a scientific kind of view of things, but we do have to use our wisdom to make that decision. Say, does this make sense? So basically, these two things, we don't want to just say accept because I trust this person, I accept everything that person says, right? So even the Buddha say, if the Buddha says something that doesn't make sense, that goes contrary to what you know to be true or right, then don't follow it, right? So it's not following. We don't blindly follow the person just because we have placed our trust in that person, right? Same with principles. Of course, principles then we can kind of understand. We can use our reasoning to kind of our wisdom to understand it and see if it makes sense, right? Then there are also phenomenon in Israel. Okay, so this, right, when we receive the Tao, right, this is the document that we burn. We call it the dragon document, right? And people taking pictures and say, well, looks like a dragon there, right, in the flames. Okay, so that's kind of
The one on the right does.
yeah, right. I mean, so this, from a scientific point of view, they say, well, this is kind of odd, but it is what it is. And obviously, we also tend to, see things the way we want to see things, or whatever. But this is obviously, I don't know if the person taking the picture actually saw that necessarily, but it's only after it developed and they see it. But there are phenomena that occur, quote unquote miracles. Science tries to explain, but not necessarily can get a satisfactory explanation for it. Okay, so these things do exist. All right, and then pictures like the clouds. Okay, so the one on the left is it kind of looks like a Buddha, right, sitting in the cloud, and the one on the right is also a picture actually of Guanyin Buddha riding a dragon. I think that was from 1960 over Taiwan. There was a typhoon over there, and the pilot saw some, kind of strange cloud formation and took a picture, and that's developed to be this. Okay, so there's these strange phenomena that goes beyond what we understand, but the Buddhas, at their level, they can, this is the power of the Buddha nature, right? I mean, they can, if they want us to see something, then we can see it. If they don't want to see it, and we won't be able to see it. Okay, so for whatever reason, they reveal, something to us. Okay, and then of course these are pictures taken here in our own temple. Okay, so you say, oh, those are something else, but then these are us taken here in our own temple.
I took the.
Yeah, it's like
I am the guilty
like
person.
2007, 2008. Okay,
Oh, do we?
and obviously
Take it in a lot of.
Jean did not see these
I didn't see. No.
things, these lights, when she was taking the picture. She just took the picture, and after it was developed, then the lights appeared, or in the pictures. Okay, so this is.
If you view the pictures electronically, do they also appear all these manifestations? Yeah, like if you see them on the computer.
Yeah, I mean, it was. This was film. This
This was
film.
this was
with the negative.
Yeah, with the
Oh.
negative.
Okay.
And then when the first time it appeared, I threw them to the side.
Right,
Oh,
so-
what happened to my picture?
You thought it went bad.
Yeah.
You thought,
Okay, I
it
thought
was
they were
overexposed.
And then I brought it to the table. I said, a lot of these didn't turn out.
It was
And then somebody
overexposed.
else saw it. Go, are you kidding me? I said, what? And then they said, this is the light from the Buddhas.
Yeah. So the many, but actually, scientifically, or from a quantum point of view, these things can happen. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, I'm saying this is not like something that's going against science. Okay. Things like this can happen. All right. Okay. So where's the truth? Right. Mark's saying the truth is not out there. Okay? So ultimately, the truth is not in these external phenomena. Okay, just like Buddha says, the truth is not really there. Right? The truth, right, is ultimately. So this is the way Confucius, right, the five constants: faith in the center, faith, trust, sincerity is there. So everything depends on that, really. To find that truth, it's not outside. You look inside, right? It's right in the middle, right? It's within us. All right. So that is really the key to everything. Okay. So concluding, basically, do we need this leap of faith? Yeah, there is. It's not so much what people typically say. Leap of faith. That you have to believe something. That there's this gap between what I know and what the truth is, but inside we have to know, we have to understand that there are some things that are certainly, or many things perhaps, that are beyond our normal understanding, what we're brought up to understand, to learn, things that we learned, our knowledge, etc., right, our way of thinking, just like we were saying earlier, that Buddha nature, that true nature is just beyond our comprehension. Okay, the Tao is beyond our comprehension, and so that's why we have to have that faith there. All right, whoops, sorry. But we have to turn it inward. Okay, so it's not faith in anything external or in anyone, even. So even in Jesus or even in Buddha, it's not necessarily the faith in that person. Okay, what they are saying, we need to look for that truth. It's inside. Okay, so that faith has to be, we turn it inside. If anything that we have faith on the external, is subject to change too. So that that can lead us down the wrong path of not finding the ultimate truth. Right. So ultimate truth is found within. Right. Because our Buddha nature, we have that Buddha nature. So ultimately, it has all the answers. Right. The truth is there if we can actually realize it. So we have to experience and realize that truth within, right? So, each of us, obviously, so this becomes, when we talk about experience, then everyone's going to be different, okay? So there's no, one answer, okay? Unfortunately. So that's why you can maybe say it makes it a little bit harder, but to define it. But that truth, again, ultimately we have to experience it ourselves. We have to realize it ourselves that, yes, what this is true. This Tao is true. That comes from our own experience. And again, through our sincerity, right? The more sincere we are, the more, that faith, if you will, that internal faith, that confidence, that will get us closer to that truth. Okay? If we have no confidence at all, no faith in it, then, we're probably not going to, even in the face of seeing miracles, things like that, they may help. Sometimes we use those external means to help us increase our faith, but ultimately it's not the answer, okay? So it's internal self-realization, ultimately, right? So I relating my own experience, just like, I guess most most people, when we're young, not really into the Tao or anything like that, but later on, after college, I always had this interest. And then, I went to work in California, and so, I always felt this kind of odd thing that I was, not of this world, not of this earth. Okay, I mean, obviously I was born here, but I felt like I came from somewhere else. Okay, so and this feeling and this it kind of intensified, and one day, I felt this really intense homesick feeling. I don't know if you ever felt being very homesick, that aching heart, but it's not homesick from my home here. It's from up there. It felt like I came from heaven, and so. But obviously, that's my own experience. If I share it with people, but then they may not believe me. But to me, it was true. I know to be true. And eventually, maybe the time was right. I did it was a class in a temple. Okay, I went to a Buddha. I guess it was a child Buddha or something. That came and spoke to me.
Santaita.
No, it wasn't Santaita. It was a Shintong.
Oh, really?
Jintong. But it was like one of the little Buddha child next to Guanyin Bodhisattva, Guanyin Buddha.
Okay.
And channeled and kind of confirmed what I thought. Because basically I had 99% confidence that what I felt was true, what I knew was true. But I was missing the 1%. I needed the confirmation. And so that's what he gave me, and so whether or not I think the message, whether that I did indeed what come from heaven as he described, I think that's less important than the fact that I needed to hear that at that point to get that confirmation, to have my confidence restored, to 100%, to know that is who I am, and that would set the path for me in the future, where I would go, how I would go. Okay, so so since then, I kind of I just kind of realized that what my mission was. And I had that sense of realizing my purpose. Okay, so that is very important. So the Buddhas, they will tell us only or reveal to us things only when we are ready, when we need to be. Okay, what we need to hear at the time. So obviously not everyone will get this kind of revelation, but I would say that most people don't realize who they are yet or where they come from, right? So, until you're at that level, then you can get that confirmation. So, anyways, that's basically. Okay. So, so the Buddha says, I think maybe Holy Teacher said this, when our heart and mind is true, everything is true. When our heart and mind is false, everything is false. Everything, again, depends on what's inside. This doesn't mean that if I don't believe something, then it doesn't exist or it's false. Okay, obviously gravity, if I don't believe in gravity, it's still there. Okay, if I don't believe in causality, karma, reincarnation, it's still going to affect me. So that's not what that means. Basically, we have to be sincere, true to ourselves, true to our true nature. And so we can then, everything can become true, and we can find the truth, understand and realize the truth, okay? So, but if our mind is always full of, being a skeptic or cynical or just doubtful all the time, then, we'll never find the truth, okay? So that is basically the presentation, I guess.
So you need to have faith in your Buddha nature.
Yeah, you have
That's
faith
the most
in-
important.
yeah.
That's why Buddha said you have to believe in your. That's why Buddha said, what? There are 3 types of people he doesn't spread the Dharma to.
That does not believe.
Well,
in-
one of them is people who don't believe,
Yeah.
who have faith in the Buddha nature. That's it. There's no need to talk to them because, like you said, they're completely delusional. Or they'll say, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you need that. You need to have faith. Right. That's and then there's affinities and vows, but that's but faith first. Faith is the foundation. Faith in your Buddha nature, not faith in
Yes,
scientific method or faith in a person or an external being. That's wrong. Because why? It's not permanent. It's not permanent. The only thing that's permanent is what? Buddha nature. That's what I'm saying. So I said that's why you have to have faith. You have to have faith, and that's why it's internal. It's internal. Then that's why everybody, going back to what you said, that's why everybody has to experience it themselves. And then you ask, well, if it's the same entity, which is true, same Buddha nature, but why is the experience different? Haha. Why?
Yeah.
Because we're in this phenomenal world. That's why. And also because you have different karmas. So those two combined, everybody's experience would be different. Perfect. That's perfect. Right? That's the way it is. That's why. So you really have to have faith in it, because if without it, everything will be empty. It's one kong. It'll be one kong. It'll be empty. No, it's true.
Yes.
Can we say a person's affinity or foundation with the Tao or with the philosophy plays a more important role than anything else? Coming to classes or their experience or their immersion in such community,
Obviously,
whether they will stay in the Tao and cultivate.
Well, yeah, the affinity is definitely very important. I mean, if you don't have affinity, it's very tough, actually. But I don't know if it's the most important thing, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. But having that sincerity, having that will to want to believe, want to believe this, then that'll help a lot too. All right.
Okay.